Hi YouTube, it's Kathy and this is my weekly entertainment wrap-up for March 28th through April 3rd. This week I read one book, I watched 4 shows, I watched 2 movies, and I listened to 2 books. This week I read Silencing the Dead by Will Harker. This is the second in the Scott Jericho series. If you didn't hear me talk about the first book, Scott Jericho used to be a detective but was kicked off the force after he beat up a suspect. Prior to being a detective, he worked for the mob, and prior to working for the mob, he grew up in a traveling carnival. Now he's back living in that carnival, but he's still solving cases. Since this is a sequel, there are certain aspects of it that I can't really talk about. There is continuation from the previous one, as that one kind of leaves off in a little bit of a cliffhanger, not to do with the case itself, but with the characters that are in these books. And this next volume picks up pretty close after the last one left off. I think what's going to be a running theme with the victims in these books is there's going to be a connection to Scott Jericho himself. In the first book, the case connected to a tragedy in Scott's past 150 years ago. So by Scott's past, I mean Scott's family history. And in this one, it stays close to home as well. Something to note about these queer-led books is these books are bloody and gory, so if that's not your thing, you're going to want to exercise some caution going into these ones. The first show I watched this week was Bones, and although we watched a lot of episodes, the one that I want to talk about is this specific one where the entire episode is from the point of view of the skull of the victim. That means as the people on the team are solving the case, the skull is just kind of there, and sometimes they're like carrying it around to take it from one room to the other for analysis and that type of thing, and I found this really interesting. I love when episodic shows like this do a different type of spin on how the show is normally produced. We also watch more Malcolm in the Middle, which continues to be a riot. It's so nostalgic. There are so many of these episodes where little bits come up and I'm like, oh, that's where that thing is from. Also, it has to be said that Malcolm is a pretty big jerk sometimes, so sometimes it's really hard to feel empathy towards him or a situation or anything like that because he brings it on himself and he is a grumpy complainer. However, apparently that actor and his wife had their first kid a couple of weeks ago, so good for them. This week I watched the entire first episode of Pretty Little Things, and I'm just sitting here going, I want to watch the next season. When is it happening? This one caught my eye because it's set at a ballet academy, and I love dance movies. Going into this, that's basically all I knew, and once you get into the first episode, you know it's a whodunit. There's a party going on the roof one night, and this one girl is just in this section of roof by herself, and somebody pushes her off, and the whole season is trying to find out who did that. There are lots of motives because, of course, this girl was the top of her class, and if she gets bumped off, people move up the ranks. The school is also full of lies and deceit and so many different problematic things happening in the shadows, so know that going into it. This is also a highly sexual show, so know that going in that you're going to get a lot of naked scenes. The show deals with drug abuse, eating disorders, body shaming, homophobia, obviously violent things happened. There's a lot in this. There's also Islamophobia, as well as an intimate relationship between an adult and a minor. In fact, I'm pretty sure there's more than one relationship between an adult and a minor. However, the mystery is compelling, and the mystery that's given to us at the end of the first season, I need to know how that plays out. This week I also watched the penultimate episode of RuPaul's Drag Race season 13. We are in our top 4. I'm excited to see who's going to take home the crown. I've got some of my favorites. If you have some favorites out of the top 4, let me know about them down below. I also wasn't surprised at all at who went home this week. As for the movies we watched Rockstar, which is a movie I had never heard of, from 2001. It's set in the 80s, it stars Mark Wahlberg and Jennifer Aniston, and it's all about him being in a tribute band for this hair band, and he can sing just as well as the lead singer, and some people in his life think that he's wasting his life, but his parents are super supportive. They go to his concerts and dress in leather jackets and scream for him. It's wonderful. That is honestly just so wholesome. And without ruining the plot of the movie, it's all about the rock star lifestyle and whether or not you actually want it. We also watched Ace Ventura: When Nature Calls because I haven't seen it since I was a small child. It definitely has some funny gags. This is from the era where Jim Carrey was actually the highest paid actor in Hollywood. The year before this one came out, he was actually in 3 films, 2 as the protagonist and 1 as the antagonist, if I'm remembering which films they were correctly. So he was at the height of his weird body humor, and you can tell. On to the books I listened to, the first one being A Mind Spread Out on the Ground by Alicia Elliott. This is a memoir of essays, and it was just fantastic. This collection covers a lot of different topics. We have the author's tumultuous upbringing with a white mother who has mental health issues and an indigenous father. We have a situation where family members can love you but also abuse you. We have discussions of anti-fat bias. We have discussions of the missing and murdered indigenous women in Canada. We also have discussions of sexual education and teen pregnancy. This collection is honest, vulnerable, and beautifully written, and I highly recommend it. Another book I highly recommend if you haven't already read it is The House in the Cerulean Sea by T.J. Klune. This was absolutely delightful, and if audiobooks are your thing, I highly recommend the audiobook because the narrator does voices for all of the different characters and did a phenomenal job. Right off the bat with this book, either with something how it was written or how it was narrated, I got the feeling that if there was a Welcome to Night Vale YA book, this would be it. In this world, some people are magical and the children often end up in orphanages. Our main character is a caseworker named Linus Baker who goes to these orphanages to make sure they're being run properly. Seeing his work life is where I really got a strong sense of like Kevin from Desert Bluffs in the Welcome to Night Vale universe. If you haven't listened to that podcast, that won't make any sense to you, but it's a very structured, regimental, there's no coloring outside the lines type of work environment. Linus is given this case that is heavily classified to go to this orphanage he didn't even know existed, and on that island he finds these amazing characters that I could not help but fall in love with. This book made me feel many things while I was reading it. I laughed out loud, I wanted to yell at these fictional characters, I wanted to hug other fictional characters because they're just the best. This book seems to have achieved BookTube darling status, and it is well deserved. It is just so wonderful. It looks at your preconceptions of people and just going with the flow and thinking that whatever system you're in is correct as it is, and how that is often not the case. I loved this book. I loved it so much. That's it for this week. If you've read, watched, or listened to any of these, let me know about it down in the comments below. On the way down to the comments, if you hit that subscribe button, that would be very nice of you. If you don't feel like leaving a comment but want to make sure that I know you were here, just leave me an emoji or a smiley face if you're on your keyboard. Some people have asked if there's a way to financially support this channel, so I set up a Ko-fi account, which is a digital tipping service. The link for that is down below, as well as the link to my PayPal and my Amazon wishlist in case you would like to buy me a book. You can like and share this as you see fit, and I will see you very soon. Bye!